All right. So at this time, I'm gonna give a quick rundown of the show today. First, we'll have a word of the day by the minister. Right after that, we're gonna go to a short commercial break, and then right after that, we're gonna have our main topic of the day, which is the signs of the future events in our human form. I say that it's the 12 major tests of life, but it's also a sign of what we should be looking for in the future. And then right after that, we're gonna go to a commercial break, and then we'll open up or come in with our real news, where we'll talk a little bit about a topic that we talked about before, but we're gonna really engage a little bit more into it, where it talks about African American studies and how it has been taken out of the school system. And then right after that, of course, you will have a motivational quote from the author, and we'll get ready to close out. So with no further ado, Minister, what's the word of the day?
Okay, the word of today is change. And change, by definition, is to make or become different, to alter or transform. Change is to replace with another, to switch. Change is to form a new opinion or make a new decision about something that is different from your old one. Change is to improve the bad parts of your behavior. Now, I like to mention that we as a people have a tendency to follow the status quo. And I don't think that's a healthy thing to do, just to go along with what you're told without considering it. Because change can be important when it's used in a positive manner. I'll give an example. Like, most of us have heard the serenity prayer, but it got changed. And see, we need to understand we sometimes need to change, like that. The serenity prayer, normally we hear it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. But originally that quote says, God give me serenity to accept things which cannot be changed. Give me courage to change things that must be changed, and the wisdom to distinguish one from the other. The part of that is, if we accept certain things that need to be changed and don't change them, then we kind of follow in the status quo. And especially when we're talking about the laws and things that affect us, I wanted to go to a quote. This was from a historian from years back, Angela Davis, about change. And she says, I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things I cannot accept. And I think that's an inflection point of where we need to be today.
Indeed. Because like you said, and you always say, change can be a good thing. It just depends on what it is that we're seeking to change. Now, you can change your attitude if you have a bad attitude.
Yes.
You can change it into a positive attitude, and as we see and have, sought throughout the years we've been here in America, we have seen a lot that need to be changed, and we had some of our great leaders, from Malcolm X to Martin Luther King, to even Yahweh Yahweh want to talk about spiritual leaders. We have seen a lot of them come and sought for change.
Positive change.
Positive change. But there's a lot of change that's been sought after that may not be as positive. And it may not be beneficial to us as a people as well. So we have to be very selective about what the changes are that we want to advocate for at the same time. But change is a huge one that we need to take into consideration.
You have to be mindful. We don't want to change the truth into a lie.
There you go.
When we have a culture now where when you don't agree with the truth, you'll change the truth and make it a lie, right, or color the truth so it makes you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, because and even we talk about like spiritual things, we talk about like, you know, the Bible, for instance. They got multiple different variations of it, right? And if the idea behind it is because this one is more complex. You can't really understand it. So what you do is you change it and you put your interpretation in it, and then you give it to the masses of the people. Now the masses of the people believe how you want them to believe.
Because it's convenient.
Yeah, because it's convenient. You get more people bought in on it. But that's a great word, my brother. I know we're going to talk about that as we continue on, because we're going to be talking about some great stuff today. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. We'll go to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back. Hey, shalom and blessings, everyone. Author Jeremiah here. I am the author of The Spiritual Significance of a Name, Define Your Purpose. And I want to share something with you today. It's very important. As we go throughout life, we understand certain things to be challenging for us, right? But life can be a beautiful experience when we discover our purpose. Because then, and only then, do we discover that we have a true reason to live. Won't you go to the NOYstore.com and pick up a copy of my book today, The Spiritual Significance of a Name. That's the NOYstore.com. You'll thank me later. Until next time, peace and prosperity.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zadi toothpaste. Zadi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zadi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zadi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at NOYstore.com.
All right, and welcome back. And brother, I'm gonna let you do the honors of bringing our brother on to the show today.
Yes, well, and I'm gonna move right into it because we've had him here before, and it's definitely an honor and a pleasure. Has been a friend of mine for years, a colleague, and you know we've introduced him. And see, we're talking about change. We know we navigate. Unfortunately, for some others, they don't have it, but we have to navigate this system from a multifaceted approach. So we know we use different names depending on where we're working. But part of that change is knowing that when you have something that's always been a part of you, now here's an opportunity for us to introduce our brother Haruh Tahuti, who also is known as Willard, but he's better known as Haruh. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you. I would like to begin with thanking you all again for the invite and the opportunity to participate in the podcast here. I can seriously concur with the minister on the term and the realities of change. And as he said,
and Brother Haruh, let's see where you
hit that.
From. Yeah.
Give us a little mic check.
I think you're good. I think you just kind of swaying away from it a little bit.
Okay. Again.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Again, I would like to give a thank you to you all for inviting me out again to participate in the podcast. And as the minister spoke on the term change, I totally concur with life and changes and the reality that the one thing that never changes from the beginning to forever and eternity is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so on that note, disclaimer on the commentary that I'm about to provide on the 12 major tests of life. And that's all I'm doing is commentary. And I do not take ownership of the document, but again, as an invite to basically talk about what the 12 major tests of life are about. They're basically, in the African culture, there's a term that's called rite of passage. And the definition of rite of passage is, quote unquote, a ritual event or experience that marks or constitutes a major milestone or change in a person's life. Okay. And culture, quote unquote, relating to the ideal custom and social behavior of a society. In relating to the 12 major tests of life, these are basically written as words from our honorable ancestors dealing with 7-year increments for a total of 12 years. 12 cycles. So 7 times 12 is 84. So that's basically what the number ends up being in the actual journey in life. We know that people have a tendency to live longer than 84 years, but that be the case, we give blessings to the Most High. And one of the things that we covered, and I want to do a recap, and I would like to read the first paragraph. Life is a series of very difficult tests from beginning to end. There are a series of oppositions and squaring off which our ancient ancestors calculated would take place every 7 years. In order to prepare young people for the long, arduous journey through their life, their parents and social leaders will put them through some very stern disciplines. But they knew that a powerfully disciplined mind can stand up and face the shocks, the grinds, the trials, and the outrages of life without giving up or attempting to disguise oneself from the Creator through drugs, narcotics, alcohol, and so forth. So in saying that, I would like to, at this point, introduce the reality of the importance of your African culture name. How do you find it, if you want to know? I will give you a scenario on that approach, and I will take the terrestrial approach and introduce the 4 elements of creation: earth, wind, fire, water, with sand compressed together by atmospheric pressure creates stone. Okay? All of our names are written in the stones without exception. You may say, what stones? I'm talking about the stones that are currently still in existence throughout the entire globe. Our ancestors had the wisdom to carve it in the stones, for it to be there for those of us that would return to know. Okay? Now, there's a Google app. I'm not going to leave you out there like that. There's a Google app that is entitled African Day Name Generator. And it's got it highlighted under that world music. This is a tree language of the Akan Ashanti. Okay. And if not all African Black cultures, our name is often attached to the day of the week, time of the day, or time of the night, location, and so forth. No one can be born of 2 different days. Okay. In the Nubian Kemetic language, often called the Mitaneter, I'm born in the 2nd season, Akek. And I'm just sharing this with you to give you an insight on how, if you want to learn who you really are, you can take and begin that journey for yourself as well. It's in the 3rd month, which is called Sekert. My name is Haruh Ratahuti, born on the 5th day at 4 p.m. I'm Ashanti. My Abusia is the Oyoko clan. Okay. My totem is the falcon or the hawk. My name in Shi is Yah, Y-A-W. Okay. And I'm sharing this with you because you don't have to make up anything. It's written. It's already in stones dating back thousands of years. If you take and you want to examine for whatever reason, whatever purpose, then I encourage you to do so. As I just said, my name in the tree is Yah. In the Yoruba, is Shango. In the Igbo, is Amadioha. In the Benin culture, is Hevieso. all East and West African people and diaspora, we all have this name that was given to us from on high. And it doesn't matter where you choose to identify with us as a people. When you go back, you're going to see that that unifies us, okay? Because it's going to tell who we are and our purpose for even coming into this journey, okay? We're here for a reason. It's not happenstance. We're here for a reason. And so the beautiful thing about that is when we get into the 12 major tests of life, the one area that's not brought out in the first paragraph is the importance of the name. What our names are and what we name our children, okay? Because that name has already been provided.
Right.
So when we go to the motherland, which I haven't journeyed, but my wife has on several journeys. Before she got there, I had already shared with her through my studies what her name is. When she went before the chief, it was just confirmed. You don't have to make up nothing. These are facts. It's etched in the stone. When the Supreme Being revealed that to me, I said to myself, you got to be kidding me. Is this that serious? Now, take on the other hand, as Sam and I, or the minister and I was speaking earlier, the driver's license is a whole different paradigm. The first letter of your driver license is going to take you back to the last slave owner that your family had to be servant to, okay? And so at some point, I think not too many years ago, I don't know how far back, it allowed the female to keep her maiden name. So out of curiosity this morning, I asked my wife because I wanted to make sure. I said, can I see your driver's license? She said, well, yeah, no problem. You know, da, 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 da. So I went and looked at her driver's license. So the first letter and the next 3 digits follows the patriarchal or the male side of the marriage, which takes that back to Mansfield in Louisiana, where when I did the archives of Mansfield, Louisiana, I saw a list of people that the slave owner had given their name to. Okay, now I shared with her, I said, this is interesting because you can take and look at your last name and know where your family derived from, go back to that particular state or city and check the archives, and it's going to put you on the right road to find out who the final slave owner was that gave you that name. Now, and I'm saying that because we as a people, we were sold from one slave owner to the other. But see, that driver's license is an interesting tool.
The tag that
tag you to where at the end of the day, when you call that name, I'm just going to be blunt here, not to impose on anyone, you empower them. You empower them.
Still their property.
That's right. You empower them. Okay. And so this is why it baffled me, and I procrastinated for a while now, and I'll get on the document here. Why would it cost, unless it's gone up $600 to go before the judge to acquire your own name? Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
What is the significance of that? Because it's part of a database, okay, that allows them to monitor us and keep us. And not only do that, but for the census to still be able to track us from the point of slavery to modern day. Okay, I wanted to share that with you. Okay.
No, what you're saying is powerful. You know, I wrote a book on the spiritual significance of a name, and one of the points that you just mentioned when it comes to, like, you know, our names, we own our names.
Yes.
And when we then register our name in this system, it actually becomes a part. Now it's like they take ownership of our name.
That's correct.
You know, a lot of people will, you know, go through the system to change their name. And I always thought about that, like, okay, if you have become conscious of who you are, won't you keep your name yourself? That's sovereign. You know, why would you then register it in a system, become a slave to the system, make that name a slave to the system now? You know, now that name need to become sovereign. And I go by Jeremiah. And that's what people call. I mean, and they may not be registered in the system because I want to keep my name holy and sacred, to myself. And that's why I don't register that name. But a lot of people do, because what happens is, up under my slave name or my government name, I would say, people tend to call you that have known you for a very long time. And sometimes it's a point to say like, oh, my name been changed, in the system. This, see my driver license, it says this here. And sometimes that's, I guess that most people would like to have that on their driver's license. But you just made some key points to, you still become the property of them when you do so.
Yeah. We empower them. The thing I concur with you totally about the holiness of your name. Okay. And at the end of the day, most people that do DNA tests to find out the genealogy, okay, at the end of the day, I haven't seen any yet that didn't basically the blood came back or the DNA came back, references them to Africa, not people of color. Almost everyone, I haven't seen that yet. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I haven't seen it yet, meaning that whether it's East Africa, West Africa, what is called the Middle East, Canaan, what is called Babylon, Ur of the Chaldees, this information, you can trace it all the way back. And not only will it identify with who you are, your purpose for being here, it will also identify your harmony with the entire creation, because we're all born on a certain day of the week, typically 7 days a week, okay? There is the heaven above, which your name is going to identify with the harmonious unification of the planets, okay? Which, again, we feed from the vibrations and energy of the evolutions of those bodies in the heaven, okay? This is one system made by the Supreme Creator. When we get into trouble is when we start to divide it. Again, I'm not trying to impose on anybody. I'm just trying to share this with you, and I'll move on unless someone has anything else to comment into the document. But I thought it was very important to do a recap and speak about the importance of the name. If you decide to look at that African Day Name Generator, guess what's going to happen? It's going to tie you into East Africa, West Africa, the Zulus, the Bantu. It's going to tie you in. It's going to allow you to go back. And guess what? I'm going to share this, that when the so-called Greco-Romans came into the motherland, when they saw the information that was carved in the stone, they called it hieroglyphs. Okay? Now, when you look up the definition of hieroglyphs, the definition is holy writing. Holy writing. Okay? So it's totally amazing. So those that are going on a vacation and visiting any of those areas, primarily Egypt or Nubia or so forth in those areas, because that's not the only area that temples were made.
Right.
Okay, temples were made throughout. They call it a ziggurat in Babylon, in Ur of the Chaldees. They call it a ziggurat. Okay, and so at the end of the day, those are temples. Those are shrines. Okay, and so when you go there, be noteful of looking to find your identity and who you are. This is why foreigners made a serious effort to steal, to burn up, to destroy papyri and other information and take it to their countries and create museums and charge you to come see information that's relating totally to you. About you. That's correct. And so those are just words of encouragement, because we're in a system, and this system is designed to dumb us down. Okay? Because in reality, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, all those Greco-Romans that went to the motherland to study, they still couldn't comprehend. And mind you, be careful of foreigners trying to interpret your language, your identity.
Misinterpret.
That's right.
Misrepresent.
100%. So again, words of encouragement there. And so moving on into this recap, and let's get through number one. As you approach the age of 7, you begin the first conscious test. Now, that's why I felt it was so important to put the name in place. Because when you talk about the consciousness,
and just for the listening audience, we touched on this in our last episode, but that's one part of it that we didn't go into, and that's very important when you talk about from 0 to 7, and then from 0 to 7. Period. That's a very key component that we have to take into consideration when it comes to training that child and making sure they understand certain things. And then I think we went in from there from 7 to 14 a little bit, and you want to kind of spin off from there into that next. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's spin off from there.
Okay. Okay. Again, we'll go down to real quick. The maternal test is the second paragraph, and the first I have it number 1. Number 2, the paternal test. We're just talking about the mother and the father. Okay. And under the maternal test is the test of consciousness to train you to respond to instructions or commands. Okay. That's dealing with that first year period, the first rite of passage. Is how does the child respond to the mother and the father? Okay. So at the end of the day, I'm going to sound redundant here, but if I have the wrong name and I name my child the wrong name, how do I actually really seriously intend to be able to guide my children through life while somebody else has attached this weight around their ankle that they're dragging around trying to figure it out? Right. Because we see the little kids, they're very inquisitive, very early. They want to learn. And so we teach them to respond to their name.
Right.
That's one of the first things we do. Mm-hmm. When they don't respond, you didn't hear me call you? Blah, 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 blah. Right. Are you ignoring me? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And so the consciousness with the maternal test, because most of the time I'm under the impression that parents, probably more likely than not, they will select a name before the child is even exited the womb. Okay. So bear that in mind. And number 2, the paternal test is the next 7 years of rite of passage. And this is at age 14. The Creator will test you with a household work of chores and learning a very basic nature, whether you have a father or not. If your parents and teachers force you to attend to your duties and classes, you pass this 7-year period. If both you and they let you slide, you fail it, and you are terribly unprepared for the 3rd cycle, which is the test of peers. And so we're going to move into the test of peers. But again, let me give you something that personally happened as we move into the next area. I started out the gate, I named my children wrong. Okay. The name sound good to me. Sound good to the mom.
Right.
But once I realized what I did after they were young adults, young teenagers, going into, young adulthood, once I realized it, I went back and I apologized to them. I felt as a father, that was the right thing to do. Okay. Simply because at the end of the day, the one thing I didn't ever want my children to do is to look at me and say, Daddy, that wasn't true what you told me. Okay, so I apologize. That freed my conscience, and hopefully it gave them the opportunity to become more encouraged. And we know how the secular side of that happens, and not to impose on people, but the Santa Claus thing. And then the kid realized ain't no such thing as a Santa Claus. But, as a parent, you may be, taking them through that ritual.
Right.
Okay. And then some of them get really hurt, So again, the truth. Okay. The truth is always going to stand regardless to what man attempts to try and thwart it or make it invalid. Okay. So again, age 14, the paternal test begins as you approach 14. The Creator will test you with your household work and chores and learning of every basic nature, whether you have a father or not. If your parents and teachers force you to attend, did I do that already?
we went through it.
Okay. Okay, I'm on number 21, age 21. Apologize for that.
No,
Okay.
you're good. Because even talking about that, when we talk about the chores, like even at this particular age here, like from 14, like if we're gonna say, what are we saying here? 7 years from that period of 14, because I know the next part we're going into 21.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 14-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
and he has chores,
Mm-hmm.
And the point that's being made here is if that child can adhere to the basic commands, or and I'll say commands, what it says in
Nature.
here, the basic nature of just obedience, if you will, then he passed that test, right? Basically. But if he doesn't, then now, how it speaks here said, if both you and they let you slide, just talking about the parents letting the child slide because they're not being, obedient to the parents, you failed it. That's that one, that cycle that you failed, and you are terribly unprepared for the third cycle. So now you have a disobedient child, or the parents, and then I think parents, we have to be very conscious as well, because we love our children. You brought up the thing about Santa Claus. We love our children so much, we want to see them have toys. We want to see them happy, right? So we buy into this lie.
Yeah.
We're going to celebrate Christmas. We're going to do this type of stuff because we want to see our children happy. We want them to have, the toys and all these other great things that, Christmas supposed to bring, right? My camera ain't changed either because I put up some signs and
It's still good.
Anytime my camera want to make moves on me.
You got smart.
But yeah. But the thing is, the truth, like you said, the truth is the truth. You teach a child the truth.
I agree.
Because
100%.
the thing about it, like what you said, when they get older, what's going to happen? They're going to come back to you and say, why did you teach me a lie? Well, I wanted you to be happy. Well, I wanted to know the truth.
Yeah.
And see, now you have to apologize, like you said before, because I'm sorry, I got to adjust this camera. Because you know what you were sharing with them at the time wasn't the truth, but you wanted them to be happy.
So what is one of the, I know I could speak for myself. One of the major responses that I would do with my children in rearing them is when I would say something to them or give them instructions, I would look them straight in the face and say, don't you lie to me. Okay? Be careful now. If you have been lying to your child or children, and then you're going to look them in the face and say, don't you lie to me.
Right.
Or I used to catch myself and warn myself when I would say something like, don't let me catch you doing that again. So kids begin to say in their head, the disobedient ones, I'm going to do it again, but I just can't get caught.
Can't get caught.
I put smarter this time.
Okay. And so, again, the nurturing is what we're putting emphasis on. The nurturing, there's a time to not be rigid, so the point to where you're creating a fear or whatever, discomfort or mental stress or whatever. The nurturing effect is allowing them to realize that when you were so small that you couldn't feed yourself, when you couldn't change yourself, mom and dad was here to help you. And we're going to do our best to always be there for you. Okay. But there's a way to do things, and then there's a way not to do things.
Right.
And old folks used to tell me, you make your bed, you sleep in it. That's your little red wagon, you push it or pull it. Okay.
Right.
So I concur again, Jeremiah. So age 21, test of peers. Learn to get along with your own generation. Now, I have a grandson that is at this point and a little bit older. And some things are baffling me because he's going through some stresses on trying to figure out where to fit in.
Mm.
Okay, now when I was coming along, I was basically told that the neighborhood knew that this kid over here was a bad kid or stole or whatever. Don't you hang out with that child. Okay. So, I feel socially we've gone through a period of time to where the system has basically taught our children that their freedoms allow them a great degree of disobedience. I need to figure it out for myself. I'm going to do it for myself, but we know every scenario in being there for them, as soon as they bump their head, as soon as they trip or fall, they're looking for that support.
Right.
They're looking for us. And, in loving our kids, we'll be there for them. But the peer pressure has always been a challenge. In my personal life, it wasn't always that good, okay? Because first time somebody in the peer pressure circle, hey man, here's a cigarette, and I'm like, come on, take a puff. I take a puff, and guess what the body tells me immediately? The body is rejecting it.
Yeah, it ain't acceptable.
Okay, the body is rejecting it. But then they laugh at you. They'll look at you, oh man, he's choking over there. And so now we step up to that situation where we're trying to prove a point. Okay, I can smoke this cigarette without choking.
Not hold it down.
Yeah, not realizing the damages that we're starting to incur in our physical health because we want to fit in because of the peer pressure.
Right.
Same thing with alcohol and drugs. Again, not intending to impose on anyone, but at the end of the day, I'll speak with you from life experiences. Okay. None of these things I was happy and proud about as I got older and realized for me how stupid it was. Okay. And remember in my autobiography, I shared that my mother died when I was 2. I went to live with my dad when I was 8, and he passed away when I was 11. So this big world, I'm looking at this big world, and a lot of things to get in trouble with, but not so much as it is today. So the peer pressure thing is one of those areas, learning to get on. If you cannot keep up with it physically or intellectually, if you back out of everything which clever subterfuges, if you were a loner, if you were trying to get something for nothing, if you duck too many responsibility placed in your path, you blew it. Chances are, if you fail the first 2, you're bound to fail this one. Now that's interesting to me because I see a daisy chain effect.
Yes.
Where if you aren't willing to follow the foundational path, and I'm going to use a little crazy term here, and you choose to follow the yellow brick road, we all know by the time Dorothy got where she was, she had really bumped her head. It was all a dream. She had bumped her head, looking for a way to get back to Kansas. So I'm just using that as an analogy.
Yeah.
For those that think that you may have more insight or more wisdom than balanced parents and family members, always remember they preceded you. They've possibly gone through things you're looking to have to go through. And they can be great support for you to help you avoid the area of peer pressure. Okay? And number 4, at age 28.
Hey, before you leave,
Yeah.
I gotta say this. This is a very intellectual conversation. But when you said it was etched in stone,
Yes.
and like being in accord with the Most High, or if you want to be in accord with the universe, they're the same.
That's correct.
If you get in tune with the universe, then you're in accord with the Most High. Things work. But if you go opposite of it, that's like if there's a storm, you can try to run into the storm, but you got a lot of opposition. When you're talking about this third one, and like you said, if you failed this one, you probably failed the first 2.
Yes.
We have been taught, like, not from the beginning. We were talking about this before the show, how they flipped the script about us being uneducated.
Yes.
And not being, not knowing how to read or write. We know that was totally false. We came here well educated.
That's
we could
correct.
read and write, but we weren't allowed to learn their language.
That's right.
And read their manuscript. We would be killed if we were taught learning and teaching our own. So now, when 400 years later, when you done been cut off from all of that knowledge and information, like what we're supposed to be doing, it's hard to rear your children.
Correct.
And there's a prison to school pipeline.
Correct.
This third one says, if you fail this one, you probably fail the first two.
Mm-hmm.
And this system is designed knowing that you're going to fail the first, the second, and the third. So there's a trap waiting for you, because as parents, we didn't name them properly. And
That's
then
correct.
take them to the first and second stage. That third stage, definitely by the fourth stage, prison is waiting,
Mm-hmm.
or the graveyard is waiting. And there's a system in place that knows this is how we are. When we're in tune with the Creator, we're supposed to follow this. But when you don't, they're waiting for you.
That's correct.
And so why is the prison so full? Because we're not following step 1, step 2, step 3.
Yes.
And it's obvious.
Yeah.
Because look at the amount of youth that are stuck in that system.
Yeah.
Now, some do get past, but look at the numbers. It's because they're not following the steps in life.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Let me ask this, and then I'm gonna open it up, because I know we're coming up on the top of the hour, and I'm gonna open it up to our listening audience as well. If you want to chime in right now, you can unmute yourself. And we're just kind of talking about, this, these cycles, these 7-year cycles, because when we get to this one, we talk about 21. Who truly fails at that point? Because I mean, the parents got a responsibility, at the same time. I mean, the child is the child, but the parents have a big responsibility
From
here.
the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning of this point.
Yes. And so I would say this right here, real briefly, excuse me if I cut you off, but real briefly, there's everything vibrates. You and I are in the science and technology field as well as you. And everything functions within frequencies and wavelengths.
Yes.
Okay. So that universal syncrasy of truth, harmony, and divine law is what protects us. But it's often every time we share our name, it's a frequency vibration of audio sound. Okay. So when we come back to our children and we name them properly and rear them in an environment to where we can forever go on teaching them. It's an endless library of information in the heavens as well as on the earth, to show them all the trickery that the enemy puts in their place to distract them, so that it only benefits the enemy, such as the case with the pipeline to the prison system. Okay? They're set up from day one. And I agree. That's why I'll go back and I agree. It starts from the beginning, the nurturing at the time of conception. Okay? It's when we step up to the plate. Now, we're however many years in North America, and there's a lot of damage but it's repairable.
Yes.
It's repairable. Because I will sit here now and I will ask everyone in this room, what is it that you need to do within the harmony of divine law that you can't do? I just put the question out there. You don't have to answer. Okay. So knowing that, why do we suffer as we suffer? I just put it out there.
Because we refuse to change.
There you go. I agree.
We drunk the juice.
I totally agree.
We drunk on that Kool-Aid.
I totally agree. And so guess what? The server of the Kool-Aid is not going to pull the bottle back and say, you know what? I'm not going to pour you another drink. Hey, And I shared with y'all.
Sugar in that Kool-Aid.
I shared with y'all. I think I did. I may not have. Working at the Rossa Perina, and the whole automation equipment was drawing diagrams was written in French. And so I had two coworkers who Europeans, and I didn't know how to read French. And so, but I was given the expectation of being able to keep that production line moving. Okay. And so I was standing there and I was studying, I would look at the prints of stuff. And so back then was when I used to drink that juice. So I would stop by the ABC Lounge on 441 coming out of Plymouth into Apopka. And me and one of the co-workers, he was electronics smart, him and the other white guy. And we go in there and we get a bottle of whiskey and we go back to the car with a chase. And this is not to encourage any of y'all out there. But at the end of the day, he would pour his cup, I would pour my cup. I leave my door open. So I would keep my eye on it. So when we get ready to sip it, I pour mine out. That's my first learning of the true meaning of spirits. Mm-hmm. I didn't know why alcohol stores were called spirits, because whatever is in you, that stuff has a tendency. And so, to make this short, he would sit over there, snotty nose, and cry, I can't figure out how you figured that out, man. We tried to confound you and everything. I said, here, Ray, take another drink, man. Because I wanted him to tell me what I already suspected. Yeah. Okay. And so nowadays I tell people, I say, they taught me well. People thinking I'm talking about the trade skill. That's not what I'm talking about. They taught me to watch them.
Character.
Watch them. That's right. Okay. To watch them, because more times than not, they're always up to something that is not intending to help you. Acts of kindness does not tell the whole story of what the person is about. And they beat us to death with acts of kindness for the purpose of being able to get to you. Anywhere you go, you on a job, they're going to watch you, especially if you come up with something that they didn't think of and it allows them to be more punctual and make more money. Next thing you know, they go behind your back and so came up with this, and he gets the bonus and the raise, okay, or she. So I just wanted to share that real brief.
No, definitely. Like I said, we coming up on the top of the hour. If you want to chime in, you have any comments about what we're talking about today. This list is a massive list. And it goes all the way up. How many cycles, brother, are we looking at here?
We're looking at all the way up to 84.
To 84. So we'll be talking about this for a minute, but we're just talking about, and a lot of us can relate to this here when we're talking about from the 7-year cycle, the next 7-year cycle, being at the age 14, and then the next 7-year cycle, the age 21, connecting with your peers. Some of us may feel like we don't have nothing in common with our peers. We feel isolated, like what you were sharing. These are things that are actual experiences that we go through throughout life. And, I just look forward to getting through the remaining parts of it. But I like the fact that we're breaking it down to try to, highlight parts of it, knowing that we are parents. We have children. We have seen some of them go through the same things. As parents, we have made mistakes. we understand that as well. And when you know better, you do better.
Yes.
Like you said, when you got to a certain point, you say, I had to go back and tell my son the truth. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because I supposed to have named you, gave you a purpose in life.
That's correct.
A path in life, and I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And it's okay to acknowledge that at least you went back at a certain point of time and you was able to do that.
I think you'll get more respect for that. And one other thing, real briefly here, this information can be a excellent self-evaluation tool. Mm-hmm. Because some of us have not reached these different rites of passage. Okay. And it allows you, if you choose to look back into your life and see where maybe you stumble and give you the encouragement to do better.
Right.
When you do better, we collectively, as we all do better, we collectively all do better.
Right.
Okay.
And see, that's what's very important, because not only is this about raising the children, you hit a point, it's about us. We can reflect back and say, you know what, at age 21 or 28, I was missing that, but it's never too late to go back and correct that within self. And then now it makes me a better person.
That's correct.
And then when I'm a better person, we become a better community.
That's correct.
Because that peer pressure is something that a lot of youth, but see, it's not just, see, that's when you overcome it. But if you don't overcome it then, you'll be dealing with that when you at 35.
That's right.
And 49.
There you go.
And you still going to be dealing with it because you've never overcome it.
I agree. That's why I was willing to share that. It's a great tool for self-evaluation. I had to learn in my personal life, it's not always the things that are out there that may create the biggest problem for me.
Mm-hmm.
More times than not, it's the things that are in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I learned the old saying, every time you point a finger, 3 points back at you. I take that seriously. Okay. Start monitoring me so that when I see things, I don't want to be so quick to point a finger if I'm carrying the same luggage, the same trash. Okay. That's hypocritical to me.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So again, if anyone want to chime in on what we're talking about now, just to even share like some experiences that you have went through in those that 7-year cycle, maybe just the parenting side of it, or even just being able to tell your children the truth at this time, if you know the truth, and being able to rationalize with that child or have that conversation with that child. Oftentimes, we say, our children 3 or 4 years old, they won't understand. Well, they know they ain't gonna understand if you don't try to explain it to them, or you just sharing it with them. Children are smarter than what we think they are. I think we underestimate our children at times, and I think it's important that we understand it ain't up to us. And even going back when we're talking about the child being in the mother womb. Yeah. And how the child can listen and learn, just being in the womb, and however the mother may go about doing whatever she does. Yeah. The child picks up on those type of things. And I think, we underestimate our children and their learning capacity. And, and it's important that we take into consideration that they're smarter than what we think they are.
Here's the thing. Our name, their name, actually tells us everything about ourselves, about them. Okay. So at the end of the day, the deeper we become knowledgeable of self and we name them based on the harmony of the universe, the divine creator, nothing is hidden. I'm serious when I say that. Nothing is hidden. That's how powerful we are as a people. It ain't about reading minds. It's about knowing who you are and your purpose for being here. So when you know that your child was born on this day in a certain culture and it tells you what that child name is, and be mindful. Don't go by midnight. Okay? Sun up to sun up is a day. Ain't no such thing 12 o'clock at night. Is what they say midnight, but it's not the next day. So be careful when you're researching the day of the week that you're born on. Because if you're born 1 minute after 12, they're going to tell you were born on the next day, which is frivolous. Okay. So again, that is 100% accurate. And it's very amazing to me because as I begin to see my kids, my grandkids, whatever, relatives, in-laws, once I learn their name, game's over. And it's not for me to ridicule and do all of that with, but just at the end of the day, to help them if they come to me for help. But I got a full-time job right here.
Children learn by example, people learn by example. And say, we don't want to take anything from anyone, but we have to tell the truth. Yeah. And we use it in Christmas for an example. So if it's bothering you, I'm sorry, but if we teach our children something that's not true, and we teach them Santa Claus, we can't have an issue with them when they lie, because when they learn better, they realize, okay, you gave me something that wasn't true, and it was okay. Correct. So now, how can we be upset with them when they lie? When we teaching them lies.
That's right.
And so when they become conscious and realize, that's not true, but they taught me. So it's like, is it okay to lie? Is it okay to be deceptive? See, your actions are children learn by example. Now, when we instruct them, they learn. But when we obviously teach them things that are false, we can't be upset when they come back and do things that's false.
And one more comment real briefly. This applies to me. And it's a philosophical insight that was given to me that is not intended to be projected on anyone in the listening audience. Okay. But I heard the old folks say, bitter medicine does the baby good. Okay. I basically was given the insight that ignorance compounded leads to stupidity. That's a tough one. That's a hard one. Yeah. But ignorance, I possess ignorance. But if I allow that ignorance to just keep building on top of more ignorance, it leads to stupidity. Okay? Somewhere we have to nip it in the bud. Yeah. Okay? As a people, with all the challenges that we're facing throughout this global existence, you name it, it's been hurled at us. It's time to come out of the ignorance. Let's step out of the ignorance.
Let's go to the truth.
That's correct.
All right. We're going to go to a commercial break, and we're going to come back with some new news, y'all. We're going to talk about a little something else. We'll be right back.
What do all these people have in common besides a beautiful smile, healthy teeth, and gums? They all use Zadi toothpaste. Zadi toothpaste is made with all natural ingredients. Zadi toothpaste is fortified with moringa and baking soda. Zadi toothpaste is suds-free, making it an excellent choice for kids. All natural, fortified, and suds-free. Get yours today at noistore.com.
Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm an enrolled agent with Scott & Associates accounting firm. As you can see, we work diligently for our clients, making sure that all of their tax and accounting needs are met. Come take a walk with me.
At Scott & Associates, we pride ourselves in providing exceptional service to our clients. We firmly stand behind all of the work that we do. However, we have also put measures in place to protect our clients should something ever go wrong.
To schedule a tax appointment for your business or personal need, text or call us today at 321-754-1360. And remember, you can always count on Scott.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to Live Talk. So we are switching gears. We're going to be talking about something that I think we talked about a little bit on one of our last shows. Prior to that, I think we went into the laws, the over 200 laws that was passed in Florida. But we talked briefly about the African American studies we actually talked about the books. I don't think we just talked about the African American studies that was banned from the school system. And what I want to do, I want to show a quick clip, and then I want us to kind of go into it and kind of chop it up about it.
The state of Florida banned AP African American Studies in the state. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but here are the specific ones that they've published as objections to the course. The Department of Education is saying that there are a number of topics that conflict with Florida law as it's written, including topic 4.15, which is about intersectionality. That's considered a foundational idea for critical race theory, which is illegal in the state. So are issues like Black queer studies, the Black Lives Matter movement, reparations, and critiques of capitalism. The College Board has always said that they oppose censorship in AP courses. The College Board's also said that AP classes are about fostering an open-minded approach, and yet they haven't really said anything. So as soon as they do, I'll let you know. Why did the state of Florida ban AP African American Studies in the state? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but here are the specific ones that they've published as objections to the course. The Department of Education is saying that there are a number of topics that conflict with Florida law as it's written, including topic 4.15, which is about intersectionality. That's considered a foundational idea for critical race theory, which is illegal in the state. So are issues like Black queer studies, the Black Lives Matter movement, reparations, and critiques of capitalism. The College Board has always said that they oppose censorship in AP courses. The College Board's also said that AP classes are about fostering an open-minded approach, and yet they haven't really said anything. So as soon as they do, I'll let you know.
I played that twice because I wanted to make sure we kind of got some of that information so we can kind of talk about that. But the first one on here was intersectionality and activism. And I just want to share before we even go into conversation about it, even what that means. And it says intersectionality is the acknowledgement that everyone has their own unique experiences of discrimination and oppression. And we must consider everything and anything that can marginalize people, gender, race, class, sexual orientation, physical ability. So, with that being said, now this is just one of the things that the laws talk about. What does that entail when we're talking about that? Does that deal specifically with African American studies or the Black race, if you will? What does that entail if we talking about intersectionality and activism? Who wants to start?
The first thing I hear in that is I believe in being very straightforward. I hear pure racism. I hear white nationalism. I hear Jim Crow. I hear slavery. I hear all that is okay. That's exactly what I hear, because critical race theory on what its merits is to determine the effects of racism specifically, and that's a lot more than just Black, but I'm talking about the Black part. Mm-hmm. And for you to be able to look at it and determine the effect. And when you say, no, we're not going to allow you to look at it because it's against the law, what you're saying is, I can't talk about Jim Crow. You're saying I can't talk about segregation. I can't talk about segregation. You're saying I can't talk about slavery when it affects a people, specifically a people of color. It's saying you can't talk about it because we're going to make it illegal. That is exactly what I see and hear in that. Mm. And you are using the guise of, you want to call it wokeism. You want to say it's because, to put it plainly, you don't want to make a white person or a white child feel uncomfortable about history. So you want to change the history and whitewash it. See, what I hear, y'all got to stop me. I don't want to get too far. But what you want to tell me is it's okay for a white slave master to rape my Black mother. It's okay for him to rape my sister. And then when the baby is born, you can take that baby and sell him off to somebody on another plantation. And then his name, that's why I got his ID, because that's the last one. See, I found out it was two white brothers in a plantation in North Florida that had a whole bunch of us. And that's how we got that name. Mm-hmm. You want to tell me that that didn't happen? Mm-hmm. And you want to say that that's okay? And the fact that we never got the 40 acres and a mule that we were supposed to get coming out of slavery. And then when some of us left the plantation and bought land and began to use it, you would come back and use trickery to take it from us. Mm. We can't talk about that because it makes you feel uncomfortable in your cushy, because you're financially, you're secure right now. Your bank account, your savings, your 401k, your Roth, you're fully funded. Your 7,000, you got it fully funded this year. So you're okay.
You don't want to talk about climbing up the beanstalk and stealing a golden goose.
But I can't talk about the fact that it's hard for some to pay their rent, let alone even get a mortgage. I have a problem with it from top to bottom. And I'm gonna pause.
Okay, if I may comment.
Right here.
I'm gonna go back to bitter medicine does the baby good. Okay. When we just left that first section of our podcast, I think we came to understand that it's the parents' responsibility. They cannot educate our children. Okay. What they call education is actually academics. And there's a difference between academics and education. They don't know us well enough to educate our kids. Our kids are bored to death in those settings. Okay. And unless you do it from a linear approach, every scope of the syllabus, they're going to mark it wrong, even if our kids get the right answers. Okay. So it's more our responsibility as they're doing what they're doing. We got to step up to the plate. It's wise for us to step up to the plate and teach our own kids information that we know. Why? Do we know it? It's in our DNA. It's in our DNA. Right. Okay, it's easy for us if we choose to teach them. And once we teach them, it's going to protect them when they go out amongst those academic syllabuses that are basically false information. I've experienced it in a college setting, and I've heard others experience it in a college setting. When you're sitting before a professor or instructor or whatever, they do not allow you to so much ask a question that may conflict with what they're saying to the class. You're supposed to take that as the only means of, as they call it, education. That's a fallacy. Separate academics, which to me is information that is given to our kids, and they're tested on their ability to retain that information, and they're given promotion or degrees based on the information that they're given. Education is when you come back to the core existence of helping yourself and your children know these realities. I'm not conflicting with what you're saying, but we got to get beyond depending on others that don't know how to educate to try and teach our children something they don't care about, they don't even want around. So guess what? The ball is in our court. It's time to step up. One of the first things I did before I married is the ancestors came to me and said, when you find a home, make sure you have a home large enough that one room can be a library. Okay. Since the time of marriage, I have over 1,600 volume library. Okay. When a few years ago, I saw this coming, guess what I did? I started buying USB drives, and I'm gonna close this off. And I started downloading PDFs. Okay, I can take a 16 gig or 32 gig, and at the 1 billion search, Google contacted me and said, "Congratulations, Willard Holmes, you just completed your 1 billion search." not download, 1 billion search. They offered to pay me. You know why I declined them? Because I knew they want to know what I'm doing with that information. Because I foresaw the books being taken.
They want to put a handcuff on.
Yeah, the books being taken out of circulation. And just what you're seeing happening now, they want it to disappear. Now, if you don't have the reference material by our great ancestors that wrote these good books and this accurate information, guess what the kids are dependent on? The lies that they're going to be taught in the academic curriculum. That's my point on it.
Well, I mean, great points from each side. Just going back to just the definition of it when it was talking about the unique experiences of, I guess, different groups, if you will. One of the things when I look back on history and I think about, the Civil Rights Act being passed, right? It was a Civil Rights Act, but who was mostly being discriminated against? Black folks, right? But see, this discrimination, the Civil Rights right was broad. It ain't just focused on the plight of the black person here in America. It focused on a lot of different things, which I have a problem with that because now everybody use our plight to try to push their agenda. And that's why I have a problem with that. Really kind of pees me off. Yeah, because
I totally agree.
we still looking for reparations, brother. We still looking for it. The 40 acres and the mural, they gave it up, but they gave it to the slave master who lost us as slaves.
Yeah.
They gave them reparation. The hell they need with reparation. We need reparations. We the ones suffered the most from it all. They still got, white privileges, if you will. They still got opportunities. Well, what are our opportunities?
Why? I would ask you, why?
What's that?
Why do they still have that?
Because they're still in power.
We allow that.
Well, we do I would say going back to what you just mentioned, now we have to create our own.
That's correct. We allow that.
We
allow that.
And to that point, I'm not going to take away that responsibility because like you said, it's certain things that we can do as a people to make our situation better.
Correct. They don't stop on their own. I live by this philosophy. You have to stop them. They're not going to stop on their own. Their whole social engineering agenda is well rolling. They're greasing the axle and it's rolling well for them because you're going to end up seeing it in every design of Western culture, not just in America. You're going to see it all over the globe because as they call some of us woke, that's a threat to them. That's a threat. You woke. Now, what's wrong with it? Anytime you see them trying to give a definition and explain what woke is, they have a problem doing it.
I want you to go back to sleep.
But see, this is the thing even about that. As a people, we've been talking about woke for like what the song is. Wake up, all the people.
Wake up, everybody.
We've been talking about this from way back then because hey, it was at a time that we've been suffering for a long time as a people. Here in America. Now, these groups that are just now emerging, talking about woke, these are other groups. They don't really associate with us as a people, but now we're big on advocating for these groups. As we advocate more for other groups than we do for ourselves.
It's our own demise.
That's where consciousness. See, we were conscious. They want to call it woke. We were conscious for a long time. Yet, see, if you have to be real careful that if that intersectionality, yes, first of all, I'm a big on, we have to make our own changes. The change takes place with us. We shouldn't look to them. We have to be the one to make that change. But we have to be fully conscious when they pass laws that can affect us. We need to be conscious that they passing the laws that can affect us. And granted, you have smaller sections of minorities who they suffer, but they haven't suffered as worse as we have. Yet, they're not concerned about benefiting that minority. They're not concerned about us. They're concerned about keeping the status quo for them. And we can't lose focus if laws change that can see. I have to call it like I see it. When I see a Ku Klux Klan and I see you wearing that sheet, I know who you are.
Right.
Okay, that means I'm getting my baseball bat, and you say you want to believe in Second Amendment. I'm finna get some lead, and I'm finna stop you because I know what your agenda is. You can whitewash it. See, I know what you represent to me and my people. So I'm not going to play with you. I'm not going to mince words with you over critical race theory. I'm not going to talk to me about LGBT, because I know if you could pass the law, you want Jim Crow. You want segregation. You want slavery to come back. I say never again, because you wear a suit, and because a lot of the governors wear a suit. Your sheet is in the closet. You just don't put your hoodie on when you come and talk. You take the hoodie off. But I see you for who you are. Mm-hmm. When you wear a sheet, I know who you are. I'm not giving you 1 inch, because if you come against me and you come against me, this is where we have to be able to stand up and recognize it. See, they're making that statement. They doing dog whistles. To hell with a dog whistle. I'm going to call you out for who you are. Mm-hmm. When you're a racist, see, now, I don't have anything. I love all good people. Mm-hmm. But when you instigate hate, see, the thing is, and we have to be very careful, hate is a horrible thing. See, so if you start hating one group of people, and it's okay to hate on that small group of people, that means it's okay to hate on you too. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So these other minorities that's riding on that, they're experiencing hate. But if it can happen to them, it can happen to us, because it has already did. But we can never allow this to happen. Mm-hmm. See, I see it and I call it out from the beginning. When you put on your sheet, I know who you are. Mm-hmm. And now you passing laws.
I'll reiterate. This type of behavior doesn't stop on its own. You have to stop it.
Yes.
Okay. If you're going to sit around and cry and, oh, woe unto me, that's exactly what is wanted. Okay. Everything that has ever happened on this planet began with us. Mm-hmm. I often look back and I see and I ask myself, how is it that we are a people with the greatest resources everybody wants? And now they're starting to aggressively move back into the motherland because of the depletion of their usage, what they had. But then we're the poorest people. Okay, well, that doesn't equate to me. How are you the poorest people and all of this right here, but you have everything that you need that everybody else wants? That's some type of psychosis going on there. Okay,
that's the sleep. See, they want you to stay to sleep. They don't want you to wake up, because we talk about solutions on this program.
Yeah,
and one of the biggest parts of the solution, and we have to wake up and accept it, is there's a lot of power in the green. You have black power, but without no green power, you ain't got no power. If you ain't got no power, if you ain't got no green power, you ain't got no power. We spend our money with everyone other than self.
Yeah.
And we totally in control of that. When you, and I gotta I'll pull out my wallet and put out $100 bill. When you give it to everybody else, you remain, see, as a slave, when you work and you pay everybody other than yourself, you remain a slave. Mm-hmm. We have to do some self-examination.
Yeah.
Look at your preference. If you got 10 bills, hopefully you ain't got that many. Or if you got 5, look at your 10 creditors, your 5, your 3, wherever you are. If they don't look like you, then you're a slave because you're benefiting everyone else. The biggest change we need to make is we need to take our dollars and reinvest them dollars right back into ourselves. Like on this table, I want to spend my money with you. Mm-hmm. And I want to spend my money with you. And I want to spend my money with you. I'll go out of my way to spend my money with you. Mm-hmm. Now, if I need something and I can't get it, I don't have a choice. But we have a lot of choices on how we spend. But we choose to spend with our oppressor
Mhm.
And then we have a problem when they oppress us,
We won't change.
and we won't change.
Well, that's why I say it's a form of psychosis, because at the end of the day, as we talk about it, I just may sound kind of hard. It's not as complicated as it appears to be.
No.
It's not as complicated. But if we're going to sit on our morals and just continue to let it happen and allow ourselves to be trained, we train our children, and then the next generation gets, it's kind of like you would have a pet animal. You got a boy and a girl, you have a litter, and they train the mom, and then they train the. Guess what? It just continues to go in that direction. Somewhere it has to be nipped in the bud.
Yes.
Okay. And we have the ability to do that if we choose to, because I always say, if you wake up tomorrow and the Federal Reserve tells you that note is of zero value or 50% value, everything that you running around here dreaming got a pie in the sky is gone. Okay. Good investments in real estate and so forth and so on, even it's a challenge there. But we got to figure out strategies, just like they put strategies in place to keep us destabilized and look like we're headed one direction. But when we take a closer look, the road is bending right back around to them. Okay. But we don't see it as we're going, and we're focused on what we want to get. But the road is going right. That's why at one point I paid off the credit cards. Okay. I mean, yeah, I have a couple of, business accounts with Lowe's and stuff like that right there. But I manage, because when I see Lowe's send me that payment, this month your payment is only $29 a month. That's just the interest. Okay.
Slavery.
That principle ain't moving.
Come to be my slave.
That's what I'm saying. That principle ain't moving. Okay. And so you keep building that up, and something come up, you go spend $1,000. They still send your payment $50 a month. Just the interest. Okay.
That's slavery.
So we catch on to the game, and then we implement strategies amongst ourselves. But for some reason, I think the lack of really being able to get the gist that we're one people is one of the major holdbacks in us being able to do more about this foolishness that's going on. But like I said, grandma's switch gonna get us out the bed. Okay.
But you know what, though? Just listening to both of you, and when I think about when we say they created religion, they created racism.
That's correct.
Keep us all divided, and we have to become mindful of that. Understanding that that's a part of what they have created and put in place. But we're at that time. Your mic is on.
Okay,
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
But we're at that time. We're going to let's give the audience how they can connect with us and get ready to close out.
Thank you again for tuning into Live Talk. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Live Talk Orlando. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You want to join the show? Email us at livetalkorl@gmail.com. You can also visit our website at www.livetalkorl.com. You can also follow the host on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Author Jeremiah. Make sure to visit the website jeremiahyisrael.com and pick up your copy of The Spiritual Significance of a Name.
All right, we're going to get ready to close out. I'm going to start with you, my brother
Haruh. Yeah, I would just like to close out and saying, be encouraged above all things. Be encouraged, knowing that there's nothing so insurmountable that you cannot conquer it, as long as you do things that are pleasing to the Supreme Creator. Now, that's not trying to bury your face in any particular religiosity. I'm talking about a one-on-one matter, okay? I can't help you until I help myself. I can't steal from you before I steal from myself. I can't lie to you before I lie to myself. It begins with oneself. Our ancestors say, know thyself. And so by doing, you shall know the gods.
Yeah. All right.
That's beautiful. That was a hard one to follow. I want to wrap on that one. But I would just add to that by saying simply, be the change that you look to see. Be the positive change that you look to see.
Well, I mean, y'all said some great. I almost want to kind of leave it where you left off at. Now I almost get a motivational last word. But I just share Proverbs 11:2. When pride comes, then comes disgrace. But with humility, that is, comes wisdom.
That's good.
So we'll leave you with that. Signing off from the host, Dr. Jeremiah, Peace and Prosperity, and from Live Talk, we are out. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
For live.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
This live.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready? For the word of the day, the knowledge and the wisdom will increase your faith. Are you